England's culture, a journey through traditions, identity, and everyday life. England is more than a place on a map. It is a land shaped by centuries of history, migration, traditions, literature, music, architecture, food, sport, and everyday customs. From ancient villages and medieval castles to modern cities filled with people from around the world, England's culture has developed through a long and fascinating journey. Its identity was never created in a single moment. Instead, it grew slowly as different peoples arrived, settled, fought, traded, worked, created art, and passed their traditions from one generation to the next. To understand England's culture is therefore to explore both the famous symbols that the world recognizes and the ordinary habits that make English life unique. The story begins long before modern England existed. Thousands of years ago, the land was inhabited by prehistoric communities who built settlements, monuments, and ceremonial sites. Stonehenge is perhaps the most famous reminder of this distant past. Although much about the monument remains mysterious, it demonstrates that ancient communities possessed sophisticated knowledge, organization, and spiritual traditions. These early societies left behind more than stones. They created the first layers of a cultural landscape that would continue to change for thousands of years. Later came Celtic-speaking peoples, whose communities developed their own languages, customs, religious practices, artistic traditions, and social structures. Their influence can still be seen in the wider cultural history of Britain. The arrival of the Romans brought another major transformation. Beginning in the 1st century, Roman armies conquered much of what is now England and established towns, roads, forts, baths, marketplaces, and administrative centers. Roman culture introduced new architectural ideas, systems of government, trade networks, and technologies. Cities such as Londinium became important centers of commerce. Roman Britain was not simply a copy of Rome, however. Local traditions continued alongside Roman customs, producing a mixture of cultures. When Roman rule eventually ended, other peoples arrived, including groups commonly described as Anglo-Saxons and Jutes. Their languages and traditions became especially important in the development of English culture and the English language. The Anglo-Saxon period created many of the foundations of medieval English society. Small kingdoms developed across the country, each with its own rulers and traditions. Christianity also became deeply influential. Monasteries developed into centers of learning, writing, art, and religious life. During this period, stories and legends were passed from generation to generation, eventually contributing to the great literary tradition of England. One of the most famous surviving works from this world is Beowulf, an epic poem that provides a glimpse into the values, fears, heroic ideals, and storytelling traditions of early medieval society. Then came another dramatic transformation, the Norman conquest of 1066. William the Conqueror and his followers introduced new political structures, architectural styles, and aristocratic traditions. Norman French became associated with the ruling elite, while Old English continued among much of the population. Over time, these languages influenced one another, contributing to the development of Middle English. Castles appeared across the landscape, including the famous Tower of London. Cathedrals rose above medieval towns, demonstrating the power of religion and the importance of architecture in English culture. Religion remained central to English life for centuries. Medieval churches were not simply places of worship, they were also important social and cultural centers. Festivals, markets, processions, and community events were often connected to the religious calendar. Villages developed traditions that could survive for generations. Seasonal celebrations helped communities mark the passage of time, from spring planting to summer festivals, autumn harvests, and winter celebrations. One of the most important cultural developments in England was the growth of literature. English writers gradually transformed the language into one of the world's most influential literary languages. Geoffrey Chaucer, writing in the late medieval period, helped demonstrate the possibilities of English as a language for sophisticated storytelling. His Canterbury Tales presented a colorful collection of characters from different parts of medieval society. Through humor, observation, and storytelling, Chaucer captured something essential about English culture, an interest in ordinary people and their personalities, alongside an awareness of social class and tradition. The Renaissance brought another cultural revolution. England became increasingly connected to intellectual and artistic developments taking place across Europe. Education, science, exploration, philosophy, and literature expanded. The reign of Elizabeth I became especially associated with cultural achievement. The theatre flourished, and one writer became more famous than almost any other in English history: William Shakespeare. His plays explored ambition, love, power, jealousy, friendship, conflict, identity, and human nature. Shakespeare's influence on the English language and global culture remains enormous. His works have been performed across the world for centuries, and his characters continue to appear in films, theatre productions, books, and classrooms. The English theatre became an important part of cultural life. Public theatres attracted people from different social backgrounds, from wealthy patrons to ordinary workers. Going to a performance was not merely an artistic experience, it was also a social event. Theatre allowed people to laugh, think, debate, and see their society reflected on stage. This tradition continued long after Shakespeare's time, eventually contributing to England's strong reputation in drama and performance. Music also became a major part of English cultural identity. Over the centuries, England developed traditions ranging from church music and classical compositions to folk songs, brass bands, popular music, and modern rock. Traditional English folk music often reflected village life, work, celebrations, and historical events. Instruments such as fiddles, flutes, accordions, and drums became associated with different regional traditions. Folk dancing developed alongside music, and some communities continue to preserve dances that have roots going back many generations. English culture also contains a strong tradition of public celebration. Festivals and holidays bring communities together throughout the year. Christmas is especially important. Although modern Christmas celebrations include international influences, England has developed its own recognizable traditions, including decorated homes, Christmas trees, seasonal foods, carols, family gatherings, and festive television. Christmas crackers, Christmas cards, pantomimes, and the traditional Christmas dinner have become familiar elements of the English festive season. Another important celebration is Bonfire Night, observed on the 5th of November. It commemorates the failure of the Gunpowder Plot of 1605, when Guy Fawkes and his fellow conspirators attempted to blow up Parliament. Over time, Bonfire Night developed into a public tradition involving bonfires, fireworks, gatherings, and seasonal foods. It demonstrates how historical events can become part of everyday cultural memory. England's culture is also closely connected with its countryside. Despite the growth of huge cities, rural landscapes remain important to the national imagination. Green fields, stone villages, hedgerows, rivers, forests, farms, and old country houses appear frequently in English literature, paintings, television, and film. Walking through the countryside is a popular leisure activity, and many people value access to parks, footpaths, gardens, and natural landscapes. The English garden is another distinctive cultural tradition. Gardens range from enormous historic estates to small urban spaces. Gardening became particularly popular during the 18th, 19th, and 20th centuries, and today it remains a favorite hobby for many people. Public gardens and historic landscapes attract visitors. While ordinary families may spend weekends planting flowers, growing vegetables, or maintaining lawns, gardening reflects a broader English appreciation for nature, patience, and seasonal change. The Industrial Revolution transformed England more dramatically than almost any previous event. Beginning in the 18th century, new machines, factories, railways, canals, and industrial towns changed the way people lived and worked. Cities expanded rapidly. Manchester, Birmingham, Liverpool, Leeds, Sheffield, and other industrial centres became symbols of a new age. This transformation produced wealth and technological innovation, but it also created difficult living and working conditions for many people. The social consequences of industrialization influenced English literature, politics, architecture, and everyday life. The Industrial Revolution also helped create modern working-class culture. Workers developed strong community traditions, local identities, trade organizations, clubs, newspapers, music halls, and sports. The pub became an important social institution in many communities. Historically, pubs were places where people could meet friends, discuss local events, hear music, celebrate occasions, and become part of community life. Although drinking culture has changed over time, the pub remains an important symbol of English social life. Tea is perhaps one of the most recognizable cultural symbols associated with England. Tea became popular among the wealthy in the 17th and 18th centuries before gradually spreading throughout society. Over time, tea became part of everyday life. The The traditional image of an English person sitting down with a cup of tea reflects a broader cultural appreciation for short breaks, conversation, and hospitality. Afternoon tea itself developed as a more formal social custom, particularly among the upper classes, and later became a cultural tradition enjoyed by visitors and locals alike. English food has also developed through centuries of change. Traditional dishes include roast dinners, fish and chips, shepherd's pie, steak and kidney pie, sausages with mashed potatoes, Yorkshire pudding, and various regional specialties. Yorkshire pudding, for example, became closely associated with the Sunday roast. Fish and chips became particularly popular during the 19th century and became a familiar feature of British working-class life. Food culture, however, is not frozen in the past. Modern England has restaurants offering cuisines from almost every part of the world, reflecting the country's diverse population. This diversity is one of the most important characteristics of contemporary English culture. England has experienced centuries of migration, but immigration became especially significant during the 20th and 21st centuries. Communities with roots in South Asia, the Caribbean, Africa, Europe, the Middle East, and many other regions have become an important part of English society. Cities such as London, Birmingham, Manchester, Leicester, and Bradford contain communities with diverse languages, religions, foods, music, and traditions. This multicultural character has transformed English food, music, fashion, sport, and everyday life. Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Caribbean, Chinese, Middle Eastern, African, and European restaurants can be found throughout English cities. Music scenes have incorporated influences from around the world. Festivals celebrate different cultural traditions, while schools and neighborhoods bring people from many backgrounds together. Modern England is therefore both historically English and increasingly international. London represents this mixture particularly strongly. The capital is one of the world's most internationally connected cities. Its streets contain centuries of history alongside modern skyscrapers. The Houses of Parliament, Westminster Abbey, Buckingham Palace, Tower Bridge, and the Tower of London stand alongside contemporary buildings, underground stations, shopping districts, theatres, galleries, and neighbourhoods shaped by global migration. London culture is therefore difficult to describe with a single definition. It is a combination of old and new, local and international, traditional and experimental. Yet England's culture is not limited to London. Each region has its own identity. Yorkshire is known for its distinctive landscapes, dialects, food traditions, and strong regional pride. Cornwall has a unique cultural identity shaped by its coastal environment and Celtic heritage. The North East has strong industrial and mining traditions. The Midlands played a major role in manufacturing and industrial development. The West Country has long been associated with farming, coastal communities, and distinctive local traditions. These regional differences add depth to English culture. Language is another important part of regional identity. Standard English is widely used in education, government, media, and formal communication, but England contains many accents and dialects. Someone from Liverpool may sound very different from someone from Newcastle, Birmingham, Manchester, Yorkshire, Cornwall, or London. These accents often carry information about a person's background and region. Dialects also contain words and expressions that may be unfamiliar elsewhere. This variety demonstrates that English culture is not linguistically uniform. Humor is another feature frequently associated with English life. English comedy often uses understatement, irony, sarcasm, wordplay, and awkward situations. Instead of openly expressing every emotion, people may sometimes use humor to handle uncomfortable situations or create connections with others. British and English comedy has influenced television and film around the world, producing memorable performers, writers, and characters. From stage comedy to television sitcoms and modern online creators, humor remains a powerful part of cultural life. English literature continued to develop after Shakespeare. Writers such as Jane Austen, Charles Dickens, George Eliot, the Bronte sisters, Thomas Hardy, Virginia Woolf, George Orwell, and many others explored English society from different perspectives. Their novels often examined class, family, poverty, industrialization, gender roles, education, morality, and social change. Through literature, readers can travel into different periods of English history and experience the world through the eyes of people who lived in those times. Charles Dickens, for example, wrote about rapidly changing Victorian England. His stories presented crowded cities, poverty, factories, children, wealthy families, criminals, workers, and ambitious individuals. His work became internationally famous partly because it combined memorable characters with criticism of social problems. Jane Austen, meanwhile, focused on relationships, family, social expectations, wealth and class in the world of the English landed and middle classes. Her novels remain popular because their observations about human behavior continue to feel relevant. Education has also played a major role in English culture. Universities such as Oxford and Cambridge developed into major centres of scholarship over many centuries. Schools, libraries, museums, and public institutions helped spread knowledge beyond traditional elites. England's scientific tradition also became internationally influential. Scientists and thinkers contributed to developments in physics, biology, medicine, engineering, and many other fields. The cultural importance of education can be seen in the country's universities, museums, libraries, and public interest in history. Sport may be one of the most visible parts of English culture around the world. Football, known as soccer in some countries, developed into an enormous cultural phenomenon. England has thousands of football clubs, from internationally famous teams to small local clubs. Match days can become important community events, with families and friends gathering to support their teams. Football rivalries often reflect regional and local identities. Cricket is another sport deeply connected to English history. It developed over several centuries and became especially popular during the British Empire. Today, cricket remains an important sport in England and in many countries around the world. Traditional cricket is often associated with village greens, summer afternoons, white clothing, and a slower pace, although modern forms of the game can be much faster. Rugby, tennis, horse racing, rowing, athletics, cycling, and many other sports are also part of English cultural life. Wimbledon, held in London, has become one of the world's most famous tennis tournaments. Horse racing has a long history connected to British aristocratic and popular traditions. Rowing events, including the famous university rivalry between Oxford and Cambridge, combine sport with centuries of tradition. English architecture provides another window into the nation's culture. Medieval castles, Gothic cathedrals, Tudor houses, Georgian terraces, Victorian railway stations, industrial warehouses, and modern skyscrapers all form part of the landscape. A walk through an English city can therefore feel like moving through several centuries at once. Old buildings are often preserved while new structures rise around them. This coexistence of past and present is one of England's most striking characteristics. The Tudor period produced some of England's most recognizable architectural styles. Timber-framed houses, large fireplaces, and decorative structures remain visible in historic towns and villages. The Georgian period later brought an emphasis on symmetry, classical design, and elegant urban streets. Victorian architecture introduced railway stations, museums, libraries, factories, and grand public buildings. Each period left its own mark on England. Museums and heritage sites are also important. England contains historic castles, stately homes, archaeological sites, industrial heritage locations, and museums covering subjects from art to science. These institutions preserve physical connections to the past and allow younger generations to learn about earlier societies. Heritage tourism is an important part of the country's cultural economy, attracting visitors who want to experience places connected with famous people and historical events. Fashion has changed dramatically over time, but remains an important part of English cultural influence. London became one of the world's major fashion capitals, producing designers, brands, photographers, models, and creative movements. English fashion has ranged from traditional tailoring and formal clothing to punk, streetwear, alternative styles, and modern experimental design. The country's fashion history demonstrates that culture can preserve tradition while constantly reinventing itself. The punk movement of the 1970s is a powerful example. Young people used music, clothing, graphic design, and attitude to challenge established cultural expectations. Punk became internationally influential and demonstrated how English youth culture could transform global fashion and music. Later movements continued this tradition, with new generations creating different sounds, styles, and identities. Music has perhaps been England's greatest modern cultural export. Bands and artists from England have influenced popular music across the world. The Beatles emerged from Liverpool and transformed popular music during the 1960s. Other English artists followed in rock, pop, electronic music, punk, heavy metal, alternative music, and many other genres. Cities developed their own musical identities, with local clubs and communities producing new sounds. Television and film have also played a major role. English actors, directors, writers, and production companies have contributed to cinema and television internationally. Period dramas frequently draw on England's history, while modern productions portray contemporary life. Television programs have helped spread English humor, accents, fashion, and social ideas around the world. The English relationship with tradition is complicated. On one hand, many people take pride in old customs, historic buildings, ceremonies, and institutions. On the other hand, England has repeatedly changed through industrialization, immigration, technology, globalization, and social reform. Tradition survives not because society refuses to change, but because people continually reinterpret old customs in new circumstances. The English monarchy is one example. The monarchy has existed in changing forms for centuries and remains a highly visible institution. Royal ceremonies, historic palaces, public celebrations, and national events attract worldwide attention. At the same time, modern England contains many different opinions about the role of monarchy. This debate itself is part of contemporary culture. Traditions can be respected, questioned, changed, or discussed. Manners are another interesting part of English cultural life. Politeness is often valued, particularly in formal situations. Words such as please, thank you, and sorry are commonly used in everyday conversation. Queuing, or standing in an orderly line, is another behavior strongly associated with British society. Of course, not every person behaves exactly the same way, but these customs have become part of the popular image of English life. The English concept of personal space and privacy is also important. Many people value having their own home, routines, and private time. At the same time, community activities such as local sports, schools, clubs, festivals, and neighborhood events create opportunities for social connection. This balance between individuality and community has developed through long social traditions. Parks are especially important in English towns and cities. Public parks provide places for walking, playing sports, relaxing, meeting friends, and enjoying nature. In large cities, green spaces can become essential escapes from busy urban environments. The tradition of public gardens and parks reflects the belief that access to nature can improve community life. Pubs, cafes, markets, libraries, community centers, and local shops also create social spaces. A market may contain stalls selling food, clothing, crafts, and household goods. Markets have existed in England for centuries and continue to adapt to modern life. They bring together different groups of people and provide a sense of local identity. The countryside and seaside are equally important to English leisure culture. Coastal towns became popular holiday destinations during the 19th century as railways made travel easier for ordinary people. Resorts developed piers, promenades, theatres, amusement attractions, and hotels. Even today, seaside traditions remain an important part of English memories, especially for families who grew up visiting the coast. England's cultural calendar also includes local traditions that may be unfamiliar outside particular communities. Some towns hold carnivals, fairs, agricultural shows, parades, folk dances, cheese-rolling events, seasonal celebrations, and historic ceremonies. These traditions may appear unusual, but they reveal something important. Culture is not only found in famous national institutions. It also lives in small communities, where people repeat customs simply because their parents and grandparents did the same. Modern technology is changing English culture as well. Social media, streaming services, online communities, video games, and digital communication have transformed how people consume entertainment and interact with one another. Young people may combine local traditions with global trends, watching American films, listening to Korean pop, playing international games, eating food from different countries, and speaking English in new forms online. Culture today is more connected than ever. Despite these changes, history remains visible everywhere. An English town may contain a medieval church beside a Victorian building, a modern supermarket, and a new apartment complex. A person might travel by modern train past ancient ruins and historic villages. This mixture of time periods gives England a distinctive character. Perhaps the most important feature of England's culture is this constant conversation between the past and the present. The country remembers its ancient monuments, Roman roads, medieval castles, Tudor houses, Shakespearean theatres, industrial factories, Victorian cities, and 20th century cultural movements. Yet it also continues to change. New communities arrive, new technologies appear, new forms of music emerge, and new generations reinterpret old traditions. England's culture cannot therefore be reduced to tea, red buses, castles, football, or royal ceremonies, although all of these can be meaningful symbols. The deeper story is about people and how they have created a society over centuries. It is about farmers and factory workers, writers and scientists, musicians and athletes, immigrants and local communities, teachers and students, artists and engineers. It is about the ways ordinary people celebrate, work, eat, speak, travel, create, and remember. Walking through England today is like opening a living history book. In one moment, you might stand beside a Roman wall. A few minutes later, you could walk past a medieval church, a Victorian railway station, and a modern shopping centre. You might hear a traditional English accent followed by languages from different parts of the world. You might eat a traditional English dish for lunch and an international meal for dinner. You might watch a football match, visit a museum, listen to live music, or spend an afternoon walking through the countryside. This mixture is what makes England's culture so fascinating. It is neither completely ancient nor completely modern. It is continuously evolving. The traditions of the past provide a foundation, while the people of the present continue to build upon it. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson of England's cultural story. Culture is not something kept inside museums. It lives in streets, homes, schools, stadiums, theatres, kitchens, gardens, markets, villages, and cities. It survives when people remember old customs, but it grows when people create new ones. England's culture has survived centuries of invasion, political change, industrial transformation, social movements, migration, and technological revolution, because it has always been capable of adaptation. From the mysterious stones of prehistoric Britain to the crowded streets of modern London, from medieval manuscripts to digital media, from village cricket to international football, from Shakespeare's theatre to modern cinema, England's cultural journey is a story of continuity and change. Its traditions provide a connection to the past, while its diverse modern society points toward the future. England today is therefore a country where history is not simply remembered, it is experienced. Its culture can be found in an old church bell, the sound of a football crowd, the quiet of an English garden, the excitement of a music festival, the pages of a novel, the architecture of a historic city, the conversations in a cafe, the traditions of a village fair, and the countless daily routines of millions of people. For centuries, England has influenced the wider world through its language, literature, science, music, sports, institutions, architecture, and ideas. But its culture has also been influenced by the wider world. The result is a society that carries a powerful historical identity while continuing to absorb new influences. England's cultural story is, ultimately, a human story. It is the story of generations building lives on the same land, leaving behind buildings, words, songs, recipes, books, inventions, traditions, memories, and ideas. Some traditions disappeared. Others survived. Some were transformed. New ones were created. And the process continues. As the sun sets over an English countryside, village, or modern city, the layers of history remain beneath the surface. Ancient communities, Romans, Anglo-Saxons, Normans, medieval people, Tudors, Victorians, industrial workers, immigrants, artists, writers, musicians, scientists, and modern families have all contributed something to the cultural landscape. England's culture is therefore not one single tradition. It is a vast collection of stories, voices, customs, places, and experiences connected across time. To understand it is to understand that a nation's culture is never finished. It is a living journey, and England's journey continues.